Good morning, Emerson. Good morning. Oh, come on, let's do that again. Good morning, Emerson. Good morning. Thank you. I'm Mark Anderson, your worship associate this morning. Our guest in the pulpit today is Reverend Schorre Tim Schorre. Tim is a Zen priest, an architect, and a senior teacher at the Houston Zen Center. He also serves Houston Zen Center as co-leader of the Establishing the Path of Practice program, a lot of P's in there, and leader of the Prison Outreach Program. Tim and Gail Schorre and their children, Eleanor and Will, were active members of Emerson from 1996 through 2006. Welcome, Tim. Thank you for being here with us. Whether you're joining us in the pews or online, we have a few announcements. The lunch bunch today will be at 12:15. This is an informal gathering for fellowship and to continue conversations. All are welcome to join, and if you're still a little new around here, we'd like to invite you to join us as well. I think the poster outside tells us that we're going to Common Bond today. Where? Chipotle. It's Common Bond. Oh. Common Bond, which is just up the street here. Between the service and lunch bunch, we'll share coffee and conversation here in the gathering place, just outside the sanctuary. If you're new to UU and you're interested in getting to know Emerson and UU, we're interested in getting to know you. Join us after the service next Sunday at 12:15 in the library, which is upstairs in room 203, to explore Emerson and Unitarian Universalism. Light refreshments will be served. We would like to especially welcome our visitors this morning. We're very happy you have chosen to include this place on your spiritual journey. You should have been handed a welcome packet when you arrived. If you did not, we're sorry for the oversight. Please feel free to ask for one as you leave. That welcome kit contains a yellow card, like the one in the back of your seat area. If you filled it out, will you please put your name on fill out the front and the back. We will put you on our twice weekly, not 3 times a day, but twice weekly mailing list to keep you connected. So whenever you are ready to take that step, feel free to complete the card and leave it in the offering boxes. There are 2 at the front of the sanctuary, 1 at the back. And welcome to Emerson. We're delighted you're here. I'm not sure we welcome those online, but if you're joining us online, we'd like to welcome you as well. And now please enjoy our prelude as we formally begin our service. Thank you, Chris. That was lovely. And now we transition into our sacred time together, a time of reverence, a time of attention, a time of intention. I invite you to join us in this time marked by the lighting of our chalice flame. I'd like to invite Sheila Johnstone to come forward and light our chalice, flame in the sanctuary. And I invite those of you at home to light a chalice where you are to join us in spirit. We mark this sacred time with words, important words that bring us into a time of collective intention. Each week we hear words of wisdom when we light our chalice. This week, these words come from Craig Rowland. Craig Rowland has been a member of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem, Oregon since 2015, where he is dedicated to fostering an inclusive and connected community. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on your screen. As we light this chalice, please make us of the sacred rhythm of life, the pulse of creation, and the power we hope to choose around us. It's very weird having the choir in my ear like that. But thank you. In case you don't know, this is my first time as a worship associate, so I'm kind of winging it a little bit, but we'll get through. Emerson is a beloved community of faith, reason, and affection. We welcome all to grow in mind and spirit as we build a better world. We do this by gathering to seek, learn, and grow, and through the course of our work to promote love among each other, our congregation, and the wider community here in Houston. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us from Zoom or on Facebook, we welcome you. No matter where you are in your personal spiritual journey, we invite you to live, learn, love, and grow with us. As a covenantal community, we aspire to promote love, fellowship, and social justice, as well as support for your personal growth. Please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. Now we have our presentation of This Week in Unitarian Universalist History by Richard Cummins. Richard?
Thank you, Mark. Good morning. Morning. From Frank Schulman's book of 600 Years of UU History, I've selected two that happened around this week, but a few years back. On July 16th in 1836, Augusta Jane Chapin was born in Lakesville, Livingston County, New York. She was the first woman to receive an honorary D.D. degree from Lombard University in 1893, and the second woman to be ordained a Universalist minister. She was ordained in Lansing, Michigan on December 3, 1863. She served churches in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, California, Nebraska, Massachusetts, New York, Iowa, and Illinois. She lectured at Lombard University and chaired the World's Parliament of Religions for the Chicago World Exposition in 1893. Chapin was also active in the quest for women's suffrage and temperance, and worked to reform the Universalist disjointed denominational process, proposing that they form a more uniform system of fellowship and polity, including a covenant for ministerial ethics. She died on June 30th in 1905. And on the 19th of July in 1847, this is a good one, the English Unitarian Robert Hibbert endowed a fund to be set up after his wife's death in 1853. It was to be called the Anti-Trinitarian Fund because the English courts had held that Unitarianism was blasphemous, wicked, and a criminal offense under the common law, and ruled that Unitarians were not entitled to receive money from the Lady Hewley Trusts, which until then the Unitarians had managed. Hibbert's lawyer, the prominent Unitarian Edwin Field, advised him to avoid the word Unitarian because our law courts would be sure to fix some improper meaning on it. The aim of the fund was to help Unitarian scholars mount attacks against the Trinitarians. It defined Unitarianism in a way that's still often used in England. Christianity in its most simple and intelligible form. The Anti-Trinitarian Fund became known as the Hibbert Trust and is still active, used mostly to publish Unitarian books. Reverend Tim?
The words from our first reading today come from poet Gary Snyder. Gary Snyder is an American poet, essayist, lecturer, and environmental activist. His early poetry has been associated with the Beat Generation and the San Francisco Renaissance, and he has been described as the poet laureate of deep ecology. Snyder is a winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry and the American Book Award. His work in his various roles reflects an immersion in both Buddhist spirituality and nature. Paiute Creek. One granite ridge, a tree, would be enough, or even a rock, a small creek, a bark shred in a pool. Hill beyond hill, folded and twisted. Though tough trees crammed in thin stone fractures, a huge moon on it all is too much. The mind wanders, a million summers, night air still and the rocks warm, sky over endless mountains. All the junk that goes with being human drops away, hard rock wavers. Even the heavy present seems to fail this bubble of a heart. Words and books like a small creek off a high ledge, gone in the dry air. A clean, attentive mind has no meaning, but that which sees is truly seen. No one loves rock, yet we are here. Night chills. A flick in the moonlight slips into juniper shadow. Back there, unseen, cold, proud eyes of cougar or coyote watch me rise and go. And now, with our chalices lit and our hearts and minds centered, we invite you to join your voices with ours in celebration by singing a hymn. You may stand if you're comfortable doing so, or you may stay seated, but please help us raise our voices and sing. Our opening hymn is "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," number 16 in your gray hymnal.
We'll be in the
Each time we gather, we ask your help for fulfilling this church's mission. The success of this church and of the principles we support is made possible by the work of our members and friends and by your financial support. We honor that support by striving to live the mission of the peace of the place fully and wholeheartedly. Here at Emerson, this collection does not go to funding our work, which is funded through our pledges of financial support. This collection each week goes to fund the work of important partners of Emerson, who, in our opinion, live out our Unitarian Universalist values in our community and in the world beyond our community. The act of giving our financial support is both a transformative spiritual act and one way we live our values. 75% of today's offering will go to our July's Share the Plate recipient, Mental Health America of Greater Houston. Mental Health America of Greater Houston has created pathways to resilience in the Greater Houston community since 1954. The organization connects individuals and families to quality mental health care, equips communities with education, advocates for legislative solutions, and provides peer-to-peer support for veterans through this comprehensive approach. MHA of Greater Houston strengthens systems of care and advances mental well-being across the region. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go to Interfaith Ministries' Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals every day to Houston's homebound seniors. You can go to our webpage for online giving, put cash in a check or in our offering basket, or mail a check to the church.
At this time, we're all invited to enter into a brief period of meditation. It is a gift to be simple, and so each of us is invited to practice that by noticing the Notice how your body is supported by the floor and the pews. And straighten or imagine straightening your spine, raising your head slightly, casting your eyes down slightly, and becoming aware of your breathing, paying attention to your body in this place at this time. Good morning. To begin with, I'd like to express my gratitude for the invitation to speak here this morning. Emerson has a special place in my heart. Our family grew up here, and this morning, one thing I noticed is how much I love those windows. Feels like a... Can't hear? Is that better? Okay. Okay. I love those windows. Is that better? Okay. One of the treasures of Unitarian Universalism is the 7 principles, wisdom guides for liberal faith. And each principle expands upon and contains the other 6. This aspect of mutuality in the 7 principles is perhaps best exemplified by the 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. This 7th principle seems to be about the environment, nature, ecology, and if we truly accept our part of the interdependent aspect of this, in order to respect it and study it, we must also respect and study ourselves. Today, I want to examine some broad implications of nature study, and I don't mean the academic version. I'm inspired by the etymology of the Chinese character for study, which includes the meaning become, to be, or to be intimate with. So it's like familiarity. Also, here's a brief qualification. Today's talk is about consciousness, perception, and relationship. There's another different talk that could and should be offered, which explores the seventh principle in relation to environmental activism. And that's a really important work and an excellent topic for another day. For me, nature is kind of broad, and it includes that, basically it equals that which is. All things together as they really are. Is that a myriad of things, or is it one single multidimensional event? Or is it both? In a way, if this myriad of things in the world is viewed as a single event, then they kind of must be interdependent, because they seem to be so related in many kind of surprising ways. Shunryu Suzuki, who brought Soto Zen practice from Japan to North America in 1959, referred to this all things just as they are as things as it is. And he was, English as a second language person, and somebody tried to ask him if that's what he really meant, because he had his words mixed up a little bit there. And he said, no, that's what I meant, things as it is. It recognizes the multiplicity and the unity at the same time in the same phrase. We could also call this things as it is, thus. And that's sort of a technical term in a way. What is thus? Thus is, one way to say it, what all the thises have in common. And I say it's kind of a technical term. Thus is actually the name of the Buddha in a way. One of the epithets of Buddha is Tathagata, which means thus come. All things together as they really are. Recently, a friend asked, what's your earliest memory? And I said, after thinking for a couple of seconds, actually, not very long. I think I was about 2 years old, and I was barefoot and bare-legged, standing in the front lawn, and I reached down into the flower bed and tried to eat a handful of dirt. And that was nature study. It's also a really good way to get attention from my parents. And I got my mouth washed out, and it didn't taste too good, but I was kind of proud of myself, actually. I was outside of my comfort zone a little bit there, and learned something that I obviously still remember. 7 or 8 years later, I remember getting another kind of lesson in nature study from my dad, who would get up in the morning on Saturday and mow the lawn. And when he finished, he would get a big glass of ice water and sit on the back screen porch, observing the world for hours. And my mother was concerned. She thought, well, he doesn't have a book, he doesn't have a radio, all he has is a glass of water. She said, are you depressed? Are you angry? And he said, no. What are you doing there then? She said, well, when you mow the grass, it takes away some of the hiding spaces for bugs and worms, and all the birds come out, and you can watch the birds have a nice meal. And also, there are these squirrels that come out and taste test all these green pecans and spit them out on the ground. And, you know, now and then there's a dog or two or a kid that wanders by. We didn't have any fences in those days. And there was actually quite a lot to be seen out there, and he did. And I knew he was doing that. I wasn't there. I was just inside watching cartoons on Saturday morning, but I kind of knew something important was going on out there. And later I realized that he had actually given me my first meditation instruction by example. Studying nature, becoming intimate with that which is. A lot of people, when they think about nature, think it's wonderful, like something you go to observe on vacation, wonderful, kind of sweet and beneficent. And observation reveals the other side of the coin. Life and death are both always present. Here's another quote from Gary Snyder. Life in the world is not just eating berries in the sunlight. I like to imagine a depth ecology that would go to the dark side of nature also. The ball of crunched bones in a scat, the feathers in the snow, the tales of insatiable appetite. Wild systems are, in one elevated sense, above criticism, but they can also be seen as irrational, moldy, cruel, parasitic. Life is not just a diurnal property of large, interesting vertebrates. It is also nocturnal, anaerobic, cannibalistic, microscopic, digestive, fermentative, and cooking away in the warm dark. Everything is included. There was something that I did not learn explicitly from my father about meditation, but I learned it later. It seems that if one studies nature long enough and intently enough, then the boundary between in here and out there seems to begin to dissolve, and we may at least have the chance to reevaluate our place in it. We're not only not separate from all that stuff, we are that stuff. And our mind is central to the entire enterprise. If we think about it, we can observe and understand that without our perceptions, our consciousness, and our thinking mind, in fact, we don't even have access to anything that seems to be out there. It all comes through the filter of the mind. There really is stuff out there, but we don't get to see it except through ourselves. To paraphrase a teaching by the Dalai Lama on this, the identity of things cannot be separated from the conceptual mind that labels them. Moment by moment, it seems to be easy to forget this and think that we're in here and all the world is out there. And the work of remembering this is one aspect of what Buddhism calls practice. So there's an illustration here. Oops. There's the big view. In ancient Chinese landscape paintings, it's not uncommon to see a vast landscape like this and a lot of these landscapes have little figures in them. You may not be able to see it. Let's see if I can. There's a house, and right there on a bridge are a couple of little figures. So you get the big picture. Here's one that enables you to see a figure there on the bridge. I think these figures are good for scale. You know, they show us how big the landscape is. And I think they perform another function, that of allowing us to project into the figures our own memory and our own experience, and effectively experience the landscape of the painting from within it. And it's kind of upside down from the way that a lot of Western perception works, or Western presentations in art. The French phenomenologist Gaston Bachelard has a term for this: intimate immensity. The landscape, let me see if I could do this. The landscape and the painting of the landscape and the painting of the people in the landscape and the viewer of the painting altogether comprise a single experience of interdependent, intimate immensity. When I was 19 years old or so, my great aunt Millie came to visit, and she did the coolest thing. She brought her photo album with her to show everyone. And I was looking at the photo album and I said, "Hey, Aunt Millie, what is this picture that looks like a picture of a chain link fence?" And she said, "Oh, that's Cousin Glenn going off to college in California." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, this is AI, by the way. This is my first partnership with AI. It's not the actual photo, but it's pretty close." But I think in her picture, the airplane here was actually a little bit smaller than that. She said, "Well, Glenn was on that airplane, and it had just taken off from the Kansas City airport, and this fence was in the way. I couldn't get any closer than that." This is my memory of Cousin Glenn going to college. So somehow, for me anyway, this is related to the Chinese landscape painting in that it has this intimate relationship of figure and environment that's included, or in which the mind of the viewer has a central role. So it seems that an important clue in this nature study is a kind of reevaluation of the relationship between in here and out there, between subject and object, between self and other. And it's not only our own experience of this kind of dichotomy, but also the understanding that there are other selves and other others, each of which is a center of perception of the whole. So this multiplicity is universal in scope. Eihei Dogen, who introduced Soto Zen to Japan in the 13th century, said that if you don't understand this universal multiplicity, you may be satisfied with your understanding. If you do understand this universal multiplicity, you may be dissatisfied with your understanding. And here's his quote. For example, when you sail out in a boat to the middle of an ocean where no land is in sight and view the four directions, the ocean looks circular and does not look any other way. But the ocean is neither round nor square. Its features are infinite in variety. It is like a palace. It is like a jewel. It only looks circular as far as you can see at that time. All things are like this. Though there are many features in the dusty world and the world beyond conditions, you see and understand only what your eye of practice can reach. In order to learn the nature of the myriad things, you must know that although they may look round or square, the other features of oceans and mountains are infinite in variety. Whole worlds are there. It is so not only around you, but also directly beneath your feet or in a drop of water. Here's a little bit more from Gary Snyder. Life is well maintained at a 4-mile ocean depth, is waiting and sustained on a frozen rock wall, is clinging and nourished in 100-degree desert temperatures. And there is a world of nature on the decay side, a world of things, beings who do rot and decay in the shade. Human beings have made such much of purity and are repelled by blood, pollution, putrefaction. The less familiar energies of the wild world and their analogs in the imagination have given us ecologies of the mind. It is like a palace. If you're a fish, the ocean might look to you like a palace. If you're a god, the ocean, indeed the entire earth, may look to you like a jewel. If you happen to be Great Aunt Millie, a chain link fence might look to you like Cousin Glenn going off to college in California. Indra, Vedic monarch of the gods, is associated with a great mythical cosmic net. Indeed, I believe that Indra's net serves as inspiration for this interdependent web of existence that's mentioned in the 7th principle. At each knot that forms this net, there is a jewel which reflects the entire universe without any boundaries. It reflects, each jewel at each knot reflects all the other jewels. It's a really beautiful poetic image. Great flight of the imagination to come up with that. And yet, as Ehe Dogen just said, whole worlds are there, not only around you, but also directly beneath your feet or in a drop of water. I think many of us, if not all of us, have actually seen this web, this net in person. If you've ever seen a spider web supporting jewels of dew, each one is a tiny lens on the universe. And it reflects all the other drops as well, of course. All of this may seem really small. However, I suggest that the universe is fractal, holographic, and that each part contains the whole. That's the part of the interdependent web which seems to characterize things as it is. I believe and pray that when we are aware of the actuality of our interdependence and experience it intimately, we will naturally take care of this great web because we experience it as ourselves. And now Oh, I got the wrong piece of paper. And now, please join us in singing our closing hymn, De Coloris, which is number 305 in your gray hymnal.
Now we've arrived at the part of our service where we must extinguish our chalice flame. I invite Sheila to come up and extinguish our chalice for us. This flame has served as a reminder to us that our time together this morning is sacred, a time set apart. In the words of Reverend Brian Keeley, this chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. We're grateful for your presence this morning. For those of you who have joined us on YouTube, after the postlude, we'll be ending our live streaming service. Thank you to all online attendees. We look forward to hosting you again soon. May we, in the course of our week, be more and more aware of the communities of which we are a part. May we be more and more aware of our individual part in those communities. May we be more and more aware of how those communities co-create our journeys with us. And may we be more and more aware of how we co-create their journeys with them. And now our recessional music.
Okay, to close out today's service, I picked a song made famous by Louis Armstrong, and I think it does a good recap of the message you just received. What a Wonderful World. Now, if you know this song, feel free to sing along. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow are so pretty, and the sky are also on the faces of all the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow are so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of all the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know.